Welcome to the channel, or welcome back to the channel. This is Living the Denver Boulder Lifestyle. You may know, my name is Rachel Kennedy and I am a licensed broker in the state of Colorado. I would love to help you with any real estate needs, but that's not why I'm here. I am here to talk to you about the truth about Denver Boulder and the weed situation out here. Before we dig into the truth behind the weed situation out here in the Denver Boulder area, I would love for you to click that subscribe and that notification button so that you get notified every time I put new videos out, which is every Thursday afternoon. All right, so let's talk about this weed situation. You may know that Denver has a long time run as the #1 weed capital of the United States. In 2012, Denver legalized medicinal marijuana, and in 2014, they decriminalized marijuana in general. So what that means is that we have a plethora of dispensaries all throughout town, throughout Denver, Boulder, and the surrounding areas, where anyone over 21 can legally just walk in without a medical card, just your ID, and purchase marijuana. So I get a lot of questions from people wanting to move out here, on both ends of the spectrum. Whether you partake or you don't, just wanting to know the situation. When I take my kids out into public, are we going to be surrounded by marijuana smoke? Or I do smoke and I want to know, is there an area of town or an area that it's not legal? All right, so we're going to dive into all of that. As I mentioned, Denver has been a long time run as the #1 weed capital of the United States. That actually ended this year in 2023 when Portland took over the #1 weed capital of the United States. They measure this by the amount of dispensaries per capita. So Denver has 11.5 dispensaries per 100,000 people, and naturally we have 11 Taco Bells per 100,000 people. And Portland actually took over that spot with 13 dispensaries per 100,000 people. While Denver's economy is very well supported by the marijuana sales, with nearly $700 million in marijuana sales just last year alone, and marijuana is very prevalent throughout both Denver and Boulder, it's not necessarily a huge way of life here. It's something that you can avoid if you want to, and it's something that you can certainly find very easily if you want to. So as a mother myself, I'm always concerned about, am I taking my kids into a situation where we're going to be surrounded by pot smokers? That typically happens when we're at like a live music venue. If we go to Red Rocks, we're definitely going to be smelling some smoke. We went to a community outdoor concert the other night, like very family friendly, and there were people smoking. So you definitely run into it. My boys are 10 and 12 and they've never asked about it. They've never been like, what's that weird smell, Mom? So for me, I haven't had to address that yet. However, I know that my kids know about marijuana. I know that they know that dispensaries exist. I think for this upcoming generation, it is much less taboo and more like a liquor store kind of situation, right? So that's the way that I look at it, and that's the way that we kind of address it with our family, is that marijuana is no different than popping into a liquor store and grabbing a beer. So in 2018, Denver allowed for cannabis cafes to be established. They're not very, very prevalent. I admittedly have not ever seeked out going to a marijuana cafe, but I do know that there are several throughout town, but it's not like they're on every single corner. I would say every, mile is going to have a dispensary within it. Again, in some areas it's very easy to find, in some areas it's not. So public consumption of marijuana is illegal. Per Colorado state law, you are only allowed to consume in either your private residence or in a private establishment that does condone partaking in marijuana. So for instance, if you're staying in a hotel, the hotel gets to say, yeah, we allow marijuana smoking, or no, we don't. Same thing with cafes, etc. So the only exception to this rule is going to be Denver's 420 celebration. This happens on April 20th every year. Denver has the biggest in the world 420 celebration. I don't know how Denver got to be this. I would think that it would probably be Amsterdam over Denver. So the 420 celebration is hosted in Civic Center Park, which is in the center of Denver. And during the celebration, they have many music artists performing. This is the only day that public consumption is condoned. With 50,000 people in attendance of the 420 celebration, I think the police just know that they are severely outnumbered and they'd rather just keep the peace than start handing out tickets for public consumption of marijuana. So that is the one day of the year that the police kind of look the other way. Now, I will say that as you're out, like if we're walking downtown, I might smell somebody smoking a joint. It's not like there's a police officer running down the street trying to give them a ticket. For the most part, if you are being peaceful and you're just smoking your joint, nobody's gonna bother you. So if you don't partake in marijuana consumption and you're concerned about moving to Denver because you know that it is so well known for its pot friendliness, I would say fear not, because it is very easily avoidable. There are many towns or suburbs around both Denver and around Boulder that don't allow dispensaries to exist within their jurisdiction. So if you focus on one of those areas of town, it would be very, very easy for you to avoid the whole marijuana culture altogether. I would say that Denver proper, Boulder proper, and Aurora are probably the three biggest jurisdictions that have the most dispensaries and are the most pot friendly. So I'm going to pop this map up that will show you the density of dispensaries all throughout Denver. And as you can see, down south below Denver, Lakewood, Littleton, Highlands Ranch, Castle Rock, Parker all have very, very few, if any, dispensaries within their jurisdiction. And then if we go to the north of Denver, you'll see that Thornton, Westminster, they start to pop up a little bit, but Broomfield, Louisville, Superior all have very low density, again, just like one or two, if that, dispensaries within them. And then once you get into Boulder proper, you'll see that the dispensaries start to pop up. So I hope that sheds some light on the truth behind the marijuana scene here in Denver. I've talked to many people who have very different perceptions about how pot friendly Denver is. I've heard many misconceptions from people who have this idea in their head of Denver always having a cloud of pot smoke floating over the city, floating over Boulder, and it's just simply not true. It definitely happens in areas, but it's super easy to avoid, especially if you choose one of the outskirts of the city of county of Denver or the city and county of Boulder that aren't necessarily as pot friendly as the cities themselves. So I hope this was helpful. If I missed anything, if you have any questions or want to hear something specific, please comment below.